Mask of Bakris and Ergo might be the most satisfying combo in the game for me currently, providing some goofy fun light shift spam, great AoE damage, and thanks to Prismatic Hunter's kit, some awesome utility. Now before I get into the build, if you guys do enjoy the content, a like and sub would be greatly appreciated, it helps out the channel a lot. So, this build's focus is using the exotic helmet Mask of Bakris to give our weapon of choice, Ergo with Arc Conductor, a stacking damage bonus to clear rooms super fast, and allow us to spam light shift around like crazy. So first off, Bakris got a change coming into Edge of Fate, where now you can either use a Stasis or Arc Super to replace your dodge with Light Shift. Now what Light Shift does is it makes you perform a quick shift up to 10 meters away that also makes you invisible and invulnerable during the duration of the shift. Now as well, after you shift, you will gain a 11-second buff called Light Shift that gives increased weapon damage to Arc and Stasis weapons plus Lord of Wolves. Now one stack of this buff is a 10% damage buff, 2 stacks is a 21% damage buff, and at max stacks, which is 3 stacks, you gain 33% increased weapon damage. Now this damage buff does stack alongside Surge as another buff, so it's very good. Now this exotic also has another damage buff alongside that 33%. When enemies are debuffed by Stasis, increase weapon damage against them by an extra 10%. This all sounds great, yeah, but the best part of Bakris is actually during Light Shift, any weapon kills will grant class ability energy back. Now the energy return does scale with your class stat, so make sure to spec into it at least decently. So let's get into the stats for the build. Now the most important stats for this build in my opinion are between 70 to 100 class, so we have the best uptime on our class ability, and then 100 grenade stat. Now why so high into grenade? It's so we can have the best uptime on our transcendent grenade, since it helps fund ammo back to Ergo Sum. Now the other two stats are going to be 100 super for the best possible super gains, then 100 plus weapon stats since you do get a 15% increased damage to minor and majors. Ideally, I'd be looking at 100 stat and grenade, super and class for the best uptime on all three of those, and then 150 plus weapon stat since you can get a 50% chance of getting large ammo bricks to help the ammo economy even more. Now for the subclass itself, we're going to be on Prismatic Hunter using Silence and Squall to synergize with Mask of Bakris, and then a marksman dodge, and really whatever melee since it's not used in this build, and then lastly a grapple grenade for movement plus the ability to apply Unravel, or a dusk field for slow and freeze. Personally, I enjoy grapple for most content, but dusk field grenade is very strong, especially in content like Onslaught. Now for the aspects we're using, I honestly think this is where the build gets really cool. Now first off, we're using Winter Shroud to apply slow when we dodge, and applying slow will also give us class ability energy back. This will allow our dodges to apply a stasis debuff to enemies, synergizing perfectly with Bakris' 10% increased weapon damage to stasis debuff targets. And then the last aspect, which is going to be Threaded Specter, which on dodge creates a clone that will take heavy attention from nearby enemies, and with how often we can dodge with this build, you'll be able to spam clones every couple seconds. I mean, it's insane. This adds some crazy survivability since most enemies won't even look your way. Now for the fragments, we're using Fast at Purpose, so on Orb Pickup we can get Frost Armor, which is a stacking damage resist buff. Each stack is 6.25% DR, and at 5 stacks you max out at 31.25% DR for 9 seconds. Next is Fast at Protection. When near enemies, we get 15% DR that will stack with Transcendence's 20%, giving us a max of 32% DR. Next is going to be Fast of Devotion. Defeating Darkness debuffed enemies grants us extra light Transcendence gains. And then Fast of Awakening. Rapidly defeating targets with light or darkness damage will spawn a matching elemental pickup. This is to synergize with one of our artifact mods, which I'll go over next. And then lastly is going to be Fast of Sacrifice. While we have any light focused buffs, we get increased darkness transcendence gains, which I know this is more of a weapons platform build, but it gives plus 10 grenade, and really not much else synergizes here with this build outside of, I guess, Facet of Hope, so it's up to you what you prefer here. Now for the weapons, as stated before, our exotic of choice is Ergo Sum with Arc Conductor. This synergizes perfectly with Bakris, giving us that really nice damage buff, and the chain lightning damage can give us class energy back when it kills, allowing you to spam dodges at a crazy rate, allowing us to have 100% uptime on ×3 light shift, and spawn an army of clones as long as we have ad skill. Now for the other two slots, well, honestly, anything to deal with champions I think is great, since Stasis can only deal with Overload, which is still the oddest change of all time in this game on the long list of weird changes. Or, you know, just really any weapon that can synergize with Bakris is pretty fun as well. So for me, I've been using the brand new compound cannon, Solemn Remembrance with Firefly Headstone, and then Boom Slaying with Rapid Hit plus Precision Instrument to deal with floating boss enemies. But please feel free to experiment with these slots as they are not crucial at all to this build. Now for the armor mods, on helmet we're using an Arc Siphon, Dynamo for increased super gains when we dodge near enemies, and a special ammo finder to increase our special ammo meter progress. For the gloves, I'm using triple bolstering detonation so our grenades can chunk back class ability energy if for some reason we ever needed a little extra. On the chest, double loosen blades for increased charge rate and a arc ammo generation mod. On the boots, triple arc surges for a 22% increased ergo sums damage. And then lastly for the class item, powerful attraction to pick up nearby orbs when we dodge, time dilation to increase the duration of armor charge stacks by 5 seconds, and a special ammo finisher in case we really need some ammo. Onto the artifact mods. Now there isn't much that can synergize here, but what I am using is going to be Frost Renewal, so while Frost Armor is active, taking critical damage will cause a freezing burst around you and grants you Frost Armor. Elemental Daze, stunning a champion with an elemental weapon causes an elemental line explosion. And the best two synergizing mods for this build are going to be Shield Crush, specifically for the grenade buff, while Amplified or Radiant gain increased grenade regeneration rate and increased grenade damage. And then Elemental Overdrive, which on picking up an elemental pickup gives a 10% increased damage to that element type for 7 seconds, which when used with Fast of Awakening, we can spawn in an Ionic Trace every 5 seconds, giving us pretty much 100% uptime on that buff as long as we have enemies to kill. So yeah, this build is one I tried to work on during the Legendary campaign, but felt the ammo economy wasn't great, and I didn't realize at the time how important having good class stat was for this build. And now with proper tier 5 armor, giving me better stat splits, this is genuinely so much fun to play. I just need Bungie to start giving us more ad dense content because builds like this thrive in activities where there's tons of enemies, and not just the usual 5 enemies per room. I'd love to see content almost like Survival and Warframe, where it's just an activity you can sit in there and just farm and farm for as long as you want with just constant enemies, which will just be so much dopamine to the brain. It'll be fun, and I feel like it'd be a great source to power level too, but hey. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy the build, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.